All right, I'll start it since you're not starting it. Good evening. Well, welcome to Blue Sunday. I'm filling in for Joe. We're wishing him all the best. I think he's a little bit ill. And,
yes, unfortunately, a big shout out to Joe.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's watching, and we're thinking about you, mate, and we're always here for you. So hopefully he gets well. This is the show that's on every Sunday. I don't know what episode you're up to, but always a pleasure to have you in.
We're the same amount of episodes as Sydney scored points on Saturday, 60.
Oh, my God.
So how's that for irony? But and also the winning margin, which was also 60.
I know.
Seeing
like
Brisbane Lions actually double their score. But, yeah, great to have you back, Rash. Thanks so much yet again for coming to the rescue for us. Unfortunately, Joe was a late out. We were expecting last-minute withdrawals from the team, he's the Callum Mills of Blue Sunday. He's the last-minute withdrawal. But, no, in all seriousness, he's not that great. So we wish him all the best for a speedy recovery and hope that he'll be back with us next year, because this is our last show of season 2024 as we review the grand final and also talk about the Carlton Football Club and our prospects for next year. And we'll review our 12 most, if you like, performed players of season 2024 and discuss them. And before we go any further, we should say a fantastic congratulations to Patrick Cripps for a absolutely amazing record-breaking Brownlow Medal win on Monday night.
Well, let's talk about that when Rhys is on, because I want to get Rhys's take on that. Let me just go through a couple of formalities. Big hello to Enzo. He's called me the super sub. We've got his comment
Yes,
there.
G'day, Enzo Valentino. Great to see you. And all of the other regulars who join us every week. It's fantastic to have them all on. Just having a look here, apart from Enzo, we've got Rocco Moro. We've got AIR, Artificial Intelligence R, whoever I don't know what the R stands for. And everyone else who's joining us on the show tonight. So warm welcome to you all, and we'd love to have your comments, and I'm sure Rash will put up as many of them as he can possibly manage during the show.
I will. Quick thing, let's go through the formalities for the show. We are brought to you by the Jumper Punch channel and Joe's company, which is
retired Working for You Tours, W number 4U.
Yeah.
And if you look them up, if you're ever going to Thailand, make sure you do yourself a favor and speak to Joe. He can point you in all the right directions and even help you basically with your entire holiday to whatever extent you want him to get involved. He's happy to do it. So Retired Working for You Tours, great to have them on board as our sponsors this year again. So let's hope that Joe can recover very soon and go on his own holiday soon. He'll probably need it.
Hey, listen, I'm excited to put David on. So I'm going to put him on very, very shortly. And so just to paint the picture for me today, because I am the late sub.
Yes.
So what we're going through today, we're going to talk about the grand final, the result.
Yep. We're going to quickly go through the grand final and discuss who performed, who didn't, who were the main players. Get Rhys's, take on the whole thing. He's the one that's played in the grand final and won a Norm Smith medal, so I'm sure he'll have his opinion on that, because there was a little bit of controversy around the selection of my tip for the Norm Smith medal last week.
You did say that, yeah.
I wish I had to put a few dollars on him, but anyway.
So we'll do that, and then
we'll get Rhys's take on all that, and then we'll go through some of the Carlton players and also discuss what Rhys thinks Carlton needs to do in the trade period and also come national draft in order to improve our list for 2025.
Let me get him in.
No worries.
David.
Hey, guys. Yeah, good
to be here.
Hey, day after the grand final, and I'm sure there'll be a few sore heads around, even if your team isn't playing. A lot of odds down in Tasmania. Actually, I was down in a place called Ulverston on the northwest coast, and there was
not far from
one
Devonport.
person at the place I was at who barracked for Brisbane. So had a few people in there, but he was a happy bloke afterwards. So yeah.
Mm. And your prediction for the grand final was only 110 points out, Rhys. I noticed last week you couldn't join us. You were late scratching, but you gave us your tip of Sydney by 50 points.
No, I said Brisbane by 60 points.
No.
I got confused.
What are you talking about?
I got the text, and I think I got confused. Yeah.
Yeah, I must have been saying things.
Let's talk about the game.
No, look, I did think the Swans would win, and they had been the best team all year. And the one thing about Brisbane, and the one thing I was telling people all week is there's too many players in that side that you just can't trust. I mean, it was Danaher, Hipwood, Cameron, Rayner, these sort of blokes who you just, I just feel you couldn't trust, but they turned up. I mean, Cameron, in particular, is in that first quarter, and it wasn't what he was doing.
What's happened there?
Oh, have we lost you, Rhys?
Yeah, I think we've lost Rhys.
Oh, he's frozen up, has he?
He's frozen up. Just let me remove him and then bring him back to the stage.
Hopefully we'll get him back. While we're waiting for Rhys to come back, what I'll quickly do, as I usually do, Rash, is quickly go through the scores quarter by quarter and some of the goal kickers for the day. So we, of course, had the final scores: Brisbane 18 goals, 12, 120 to the Sydney Swans 9-6-60. The most symmetrical scoreline you've probably ever seen in a grand final. Brisbane scored double the amount of goals, double the amount of points, and therefore double the score, 120 to 60. They were 4-3-27 to 3-1-19 up at quarter time. We got Rhys back. Good to have you back, Rhys. I'm just going through the quarter by quarter scores.
Yeah, I must have been talking rubbish.
Brisbane, then, this is where they really won the game in the second quarter, kicking 7 goals, 4 to Sydney's 1 goal, 2 in the second quarter, going in at 11-7-73 to 4-3-27. Ironically, a 46-point margin at half time, and it was pretty much game over. But interestingly, it's the same amount of points that they were in front of Carlton in the opening round and managed to somehow lose that game by a point. So I reckon someone might have mentioned to them at half time, hey, boys, 46 in front again. Let's not do that again. Anyway, they put the pedal to the metal in the third quarter, kicking another 5 goals, 4 to Sydney's 1 goal, 1. And it was 16-11, 107. They were already over 100 points at three-quarter time to 5-4-34. And that 73-point margin was reduced somewhat in the last quarter, with Sydney kicking 4 goals, 2 to 2 goals, 1. But really, there was just a few junk time goals there to Luke Parker, especially in the last quarter. He kicked 3 of their 4 goals, and it made the scoreboard a little bit more respectable. But, it was still a smashing. Let's face it. The game was over at half time. So, of course, fantastic games by the Brisbane forward line. I haven't got the goal kickers here with me, Rash, but I think we had Callum Archie kicking 4.
I got him.
Ashcroft is 1.
Archie, Lyman 4, Morris 2, Danaher 2, McCluggage,
Berry 1.
Berry, Hipwood, Ashcroft, and Rayner all got 1 each, and the Swans.
And for Sydney, I think Luke Parker got 3. And
Luke Parker 3 junk time goals in the last quarter,
and 6 single goal kickers.
Who was it? Hayward, Papley, Rowbottom, Fox, Heaney, and Warner.
Yep.
He wears a good number, that number 26.
Which one?
For Sydney. Wasn't that Rhys' number?
Yeah, no, but Rhys' number
was wasn't up there.
It was number 30 when he was at the Swans.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. No, you're 26 at the Blues. That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
anyway, Rhys, without going through any more stats and all that sort of thing, well, I'll just quickly. Well, actually, I will go through a couple of the players that played best for both sides. Statistically, Dane Zorko was the highest rated player. 26 disposals, 10 marks. Josh Dunkley, also amazing game, 11 tackles, 8 marks, kept Isaac Heaney very, very quiet. Lockie Neal, 35 disposals and 8 marks as well. Another very highly rated player on the ground. And, of course, we had young Will Ashcroft, who ended up being awarded the Norm Smith Medal with 30 disposals, and a goal. And he was so busy when the game was really there for the taking. For Sydney, Brodie Grundy, 22 disposals, 36 hit-outs. While he had the better end of the ruck, I didn't think he really imposed himself on the game at all. I think he had a big opportunity to do that against a second-string ruckman in Darcy Fort. But, while he statistically probably was one of their better players, I didn't think he really had that much impact. Errol Goulden, 24 disposals, 5 marks. And Robbie Fox, who came on as a sub, did really well, actually. Got 21 disposals in half a game and took 6 marks. So he did quite well for the Sydney Swans. But other than those 3, really all the others were very, very disappointing. So, Rhys, I'll shut up now and let you tell us what you made of the game and where it was won and lost and who played well and who didn't.
Yeah, look, I think you've covered most of who played well and so forth. I mean, Brisbane, they came to play. They were switched on, and this is where you've got to give credit to their coach. He tactically worked out the Swans, and I think people will go to work on that next year when they're playing against Sydney. And it's amazing. I mean, and we saw it during the week at the Brownlow Medal. Players are allowed to run around and at their free will can they dominate, and that's why they got so many votes. I mean, people complain about how many votes they got. Well, they didn't have opponents. They did not have opponents. You come
the
to
pressure.
crunch
They
time,
didn't bring any pressure, did they, Sydney? They didn't put any pressure on the ball.
Well, they were the sitting ducks, though, because they were the people who had Goulden, they had Heaney, they had these blokes. So, instead of allowing them to run around on their own, some tight opposition was put on them, and it's just common sense. It really is common sense. I look back in the 87 grand final, and we put probably one of the most important things we did that day was put David Glascott onto the long-haired bloody rover.
Platten.
Collins?
Platten. No,
Platten.
And Glazer did a terrific job on him. And
yes.
And if he
Shane Robertson onto Robert Dipper Domenico, quite him for the best part of the game.
Yeah, Dipper had a pretty good game, all over, but I mean, you've got to stop the better players in the teams you're coming up against. I mean, me going on the Dermot was a trial in a lot of ways. No one knew what was going to happen there. I didn't know what was going to happen there. So, but my job was to negate him, and you got to negate the stars of opposition teams. You can't let them run around, and the more you see it happen, I've spoken to clubs and coaches, assistant coaches, and different people about it, and all they're worried about is their setup. They talk about their setup, and no, we can't have a tagger in there because if he goes in there, we've got these set plans, and well, bloody hell, change your plan then. Have another plan. Have a second plan that you've got a tagger in there. Chincotta was going in after the bounce was happening when he was tagging people. So, but Brisbane worked out the Swans. Heaney and Goulden had to be stopped. They were the two major driving forces through the midfield, and they weren't able to get the ball into their forward line in that menacing manner that they've been able to do. I think there are two things: the tactics of Brisbane. And they came to play too. Don't get me wrong. They tackled. They come out fierce right from the start, and let the Swans know they were there. The Swans kicked the first 2 goals. I mean, a lot of people forget that they kicked the first 2 goals, but
Hayward and Papley kicked the first 2 goals, and they looked like, here we go. They're going to, we thought Papley was going to start being a fire starter for them, but after that, we hardly saw both of those players for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, the ball didn't get down there too much either, but even though they did get those first 2 goals, you could see the intent of the Brisbane team, and that was the most important thing. And so
Kai Lohman replied to those 2 goals with 2 of his own. in the first quarter. He was a real fire starter for Brisbane in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and they were able to get their nose in front at quarter time, which was a great effort. I mean, the next two quarters, they kicked 12 goals to 2, and that's what won the match. 12 goals to 2.
The two middle quarters.
Second and third quarters. So 60-point result.
Can I just ask? We're getting some comments here also that, not to dwell too much about the game, but I've got a question for you, Rhys, because what I noticed was at one stage, post first quarter time, I couldn't see Sydney getting it past half forward. Now, is that tactically from coaching that they sort of like they built a wall? Did you notice that also?
Yeah, look, Brisbane have got a very, very good defence, and they set up very well behind the ball. And Harris Andrews, back there is the mainstay of that. They defend very well. They have for quite a number of years, and that's why they've played in 2 grand finals in a row. You always, if you haven't got a good defence, you're going to be vulnerable. You're not going to last year after year type of thing because you're going to get exposed. But that's why they've been able to get back into games and play 2 grand finals in a row, win a premiership. So the Swans rely too heavily on their midfield. Their midfield is probably the best in the competition, but they rely too heavily on it. And when that is quelled to a certain degree, they haven't got any driving force. I mean, they get a lot of goals out of their midfielders too. Warner and Heaney are goal-kicking midfielders. They play forward to the centre and are very damaging. But and Gordon as well. So they got exposed, and I think a lot of people will go to town on it. And I hope that a lot of coaches look at the way the game was played and don't allow the best player in the opposition team to be able to run around and get easy kicks for the entire game. And the best players need to be, they need to be tagged. Cripps is a hard one to tag because he's a brute. He goes through the packs and that. Dacos can be tagged and very rarely. And when he does get tagged, he normally doesn't do too much. He has very, very little influence on a game. And then the next week, he goes out and there's no tag on him. I can't understand it at all. And, the teams need to really start looking at how they're setting up against their opposition. I know they'll do it against the Swans because that's the way to beat them. The blueprint was there yesterday, and that'll continue now.
Yeah, I was always concerned when I tipped Brisbane for the game. I did tip them to win. My biggest concern for Sydney was that their key position forwards just don't have that impact, that game-winning streak about them. Whether it's Logan McDonald, who, by the way, came into the game clearly with an injury. Yet again, Sydney have made that mistake. Or whether it's Amati, who barely got his first kick until about the third quarter and didn't hit the scoreboard, or Hayden McLean. These guys just don't seem to have real presence about them in matches that really matter. And so you're right. If they don't get goals via Heaney or Warner or Goulden and Rowbottom and these sorts
there's
of guys, and especially
Papley and Hayward. Papley and Hayward are the other ones.
Papley and Hayward. Yeah. Well, they're basically not going to win the game. And the Brisbane defence was brilliant in quelling those players. But also, their own midfielders looked like they had a ball on the string, and Sydney weren't tagging them either. I mean, Lachie Neale had 35, and he had a bad foot going into the game. He's in a moon boot today, I notice. And Will Ashcroft, well, geez, wasn't he allowed to weave his magic in the middle of the ground on a number of occasions and set up goals or kick one himself out of a stoppage? So, it looked very, very ominous early in the game. Even at quarter time, I thought Brisbane looked by far the better team here. I know it's only an 8-point margin or whatever it was, but you could just tell that they had the better of that quarter, and it didn't surprise me when they ran away in the second and third.
Yeah, look, they sort of had control of the game from the start. You know, I think they really had control. They were the team putting the most pressure on and doing the little things, and that was what was always wins. You know, the big games. It's the little things. It's the chasing, the tackling, the rest of it takes care of itself, and you put real pressure on quality opposition, they'll crack after a while. And what happened was that they end up trying to do a bit too much and tried to take a few risks a bit too early in the game, and you know, that really cost them. They got hurt on the rebound.
Yeah. Rhys, what can we learn from a Carlton perspective? I mean, Brisbane and Carlton were both pretty much at the bottom of the ladder come about 10 years ago. And Brisbane appointed Chris Fagan, and they got Luke Hodge across from Hawthorn in about 2017 or 18, something like that, to help, I guess, be like a playing coach in defence down there. And here we are. We've seen about a 6-year finals stint by the Brisbane Lions, and they finally got across the line yesterday after that heartbreaking loss to Collingwood last year. But they've been knocking on the door for a long time, haven't they? And they seem to be well ahead of Carlton in their rebuild, and we are still, you know, misfiring, if you like. We had what we thought was a great season last year, and we made it all the way to a prelim, but we seem to have gone backwards this year. So what lessons can we learn from what has been successful at Brisbane and what we need to do to be successful at Carlton?
That's a great segue, Vince.
Yeah,
very good.
Father sons have helped. Father sons have helped.
Yeah.
You know, so and then that's going to help them even more next year. Apparently,
Will Ashcroft's brother's coming across next.
Well, they reckon he's a better player. They reckon at that same stage of where they've been in their careers that he's this kid's better. So
all remains to be seen.
You're starting to look at Dacos type of you know, first year sort of you know, so that's scary in itself. But
surely it's more than just taking father sons in list management. Surely there's a lot.
They also have academies.
I mean, that whole club seems to be very organised, together, unified, stable, from president down to. I mean, they've got people like Lee Matthews on their board. They've got Greg Swan, former Carlton CEO there. He's been there for 11 years as their CEO, and they seem to be very unified in their cause, and they're really right behind their coach.
Yeah, and so are we. So are we at the moment. We are in a very, very similar position. We are in the right position. Look, a lot went wrong this year. A hell of a lot went wrong. I think it's really a year you've got to hopefully some home truths were told during the exit week interviews, and some blokes got, you know, told right between the eyes, you know, where they're at, because
go and look elsewhere. Some of them.
Well, some have been told that. Some have been told to look around at the moment. But we actually have the basis of a premiership team at Carlton Football Club right now. And I don't think anyone doubts that. The age profile, we're
games played, average games played.
A whole lot, you know. But what we do lack, and it only happened till the end of the, you know, right at the end of the year, we've got no kids in our team. We got no kids coming through. You know, the Campioli kids. I mean, I thought we made a mistake by not playing those kids in the final. They've done enough to stay in there, and more than enough to stay in front of quite a few players who they did play, who unfortunately are still contracted to us. But that's part and parcel of it. We need to start playing some kids. We need youth in there. We're just and it excites the other players too when you have young players doing, you know, kids like Loman and that. And I was
just going to say, there's about half a dozen players in that Brisbane Lions team that won yesterday who are around the 21 or younger. I mean, Will Ashcroft's 20. I think Darcy Wilmot might be 21. I'm just trying to think of all of the different names and numbers off the top of my head. But Yeah, the Loman, the one who kicked 4 goals. He's only.
I think I read
21.
somewhere today that Loman or one of those, mentioned after the match we could probably win another 4 or 5.
Yeah,
and that's
scary,
how
isn't it?
that's how they feel at the moment. That's how confident they are. That's how much belief they've got in each other. That's fantastic to hear. People will say, "Oh, you can't say that sort of
stuff."
Young
Logan Morris was another one.
Jeez, well, he was the youngest out there. He was the youngest. He's only just shy of
19, I think.
Ashcroft. Yeah, so he's and he takes a good grab down there. He's a good kid. He's going to go places, and he just sometimes injuries can force teams to and that's what happened with him, for example. He got in through injuries through to Brisbane. Yeah. And that's the same thing that happened to us, but we didn't keep him in the team. We didn't keep Moyer in there. We didn't keep Binns in there. We turfed them out as soon as
Cooper Lord.
We turf them out as soon as
these players' reputations come back,
or Motlop comes back, or whoever,
or Chera.
What a load of crap. We're going to get a lot better at our selection integrity. We've spoken about a lot this year, and we need a better football now, I suppose, in a lot of ways. Because,
who should be responsible and therefore accountable for these sorts of things? I mean, when you're looking at your football department, are you just putting it all on the senior coach, or do you need to be pointing fingers at list managers or people like Brad Lloyd, who's the general manager of the entire football department? How far up do you go in order to hold people accountable for areas of responsibility?
Well, I mean, everyone should be held responsible. I mean, there should be a review every year, and sometimes that review can be positive as well as doesn't have to be all negative. I mean, you go through the good things and what's worked and what hasn't.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I've looked at the fitness and conditioning side of it, and they've got rid of a bloke. So they've actually
they've brought on the Sydney Swans guy. Yeah, what's
got the Swans guy coming next year. So
forget his name now. Innes, I think was his name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Rob,
his name,
is it Rob Innes? I think it is. Anyway,
yeah, the Sydney guy.
Yeah.
Is it Innes or Rob McInnes or something like that? Anyway.
Well, it doesn't matter. As long as he can do it, as long as he can get them up and going and get our best 22 out in the paddock every bloody week.
Can I ask you this? Can I ask you this question, Rhys? If someone had come to you at the end of our season, we got smashed by the Brisbane Lions, who eventually win the premiership, and that was 4 weeks ago in the or 3 weeks ago, I should say, in the elimination final. If someone said to you, what positions on the field do we need to predominantly recruit for, whether it's through trading or through drafting? What are the positions that you feel need to be attended to? And therefore, just because a player like Dan Houston, for example, comes knocking on the door from Port Adelaide saying, "Hey, I want to come back to Melbourne," does that mean you move hell and high water to get him? Because he just says he wants another halfback flanker that's going to cost you 800, 900 grand a year because he's an All-Australian. Is that the answer to our problems, or would you have said that there are other more important positions and priorities on the ground?
Well, if he wants to come to Carlton, it has to be on our terms anyway. I mean, in a certain way, because there's only Carlton and North Melbourne who are going to get him. And if he wants to go to North Melbourne, good luck to him. He'll play his life out, in the bottom eight of the ladder.
Is it just his decision, or does Port Adelaide get to have a say in this?
Port Adelaide has a say, yeah. Of course they have a say.
Because he's still contracted. He's still contracted to them.
Yeah. So they have a say, and you've got to do a deal for him. And he's going to take a round one pick or a future round one pick. So you need to be very careful about that as well. But getting back to your point on what we need another tall backman for, if I was picking three players now to say what we need on our list now, we need a tall backman. We're really someone to help Weeders back there who's good and strong and hard. Haynes.
So therefore, sorry to interrupt, but is therefore a 32-year-old Nick Haynes from GWS who struggled to get a game with them all year? Is he the answer?
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
Could be. He could. Well, he's better than what we got. So we're improving straight away by getting and having someone who's got the strength to be able to and backline knowledge and defensive skills to be able to just contain those big brutes back there, and it's going to give Weeders a lot more freedom. The next position is we need a quick midfielder. We need someone who's got pace in that midfield and and across that midfield. So
do you think that's the motivation behind their decision to advise guys like Matthew Kennedy to go and look for greener pastures, because he wanted to play and wants to keep playing inside mid, but I don't think that they see him as. Whoops! Something happened there.
Oh, you're right. Just my phone.
Back to the phone.
I don't see. I don't see that Carlton is saying to him, you're part of our plans for the inside midfield, because they're basically telling him to look for somewhere else.
We've got too much of the same in there, though. We've got George York, we've got Cripps, we've got too much of the same, and Kennedy fits into that category. So, they're doing the right thing by letting him have a look around, where he might get some more opportunities, and there could be a club out there who which is going to be beneficial to him, but it's also going to give us some stake. We're going to pick up a better draft pick, or it might help us in a trading deal or something with someone. So that we lose nothing out of that, because we've got those type of players. We've got Matty Kennedy 2 or 3 times, 4 times in there at the moment. So we're not losing too much there, because we've got enough of those sort of blokes.
What do you know about the Camporeale twins, and can you see either or both of them taking an immediate position in the team next year, a bit like Nick Dacos did a couple of years ago with Collingwood? I mean, let's face it, he's only played for 3 years, and he's taken the competition by storm, hasn't he, Nick Dacos? So are they as good as someone like him, as far as you're aware, or
not
can
aware
they immediately fit into our midfield?
I don't think we've had a player in the history of the game who's had 3 years as good as he has, and to be able to poll 38 votes in your third year, I mean, it's the most of anyone, before, after Paddy Cripps sort of thing. It's that's just shows how good he is. It's
only a matter of time, isn't it, you reckon, before he wins one?
Yeah, look, he's a quality player, and these kids are going to come through. They're going to have enough pressure on them anyway, so I wouldn't be putting him on that high pedestal. They won't be, number one draft picks, so they're not going to be, listening today, and I think it's Richmond who get the first pick this year, but if they don't select Levi Ashcroft number 1, they're crazy.
Well, that'll force Brisbane's hand, won't it?
Yeah, it does, and I can't understand why teams don't do that. I mean, you've got to force their hand. Either that or they get Ashcroft,
Yeah.
So, that'd be a bonus. If he's better than his brother, then, you're getting a bloody good player there, aren't you? So
he's worthy of a number 1 draft pick anyway, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, exactly. And Brisbane aren't going to allow that to happen.
Even if he wasn't son of
but Brisbane won't allow it to happen. So you're going to get your best pick anyway after that.
Yeah.
Or if there's another kid, if there's another father-son in there who's worthy of it might be a Camporeale, but I don't think it will be. But,
so would you give up our pick 11? Ours is pick 11. So would you give up pick 11 for Dan Houston?
No, I wouldn't personally. No.
So what would you do? Would you rather trade a future first?
I think this is too. I think this is too good a draft. There's a Tasmanian side coming in a couple of years. You can't waste young talent at the moment. You got to get. We need good kids in there at the moment. We've got as I said, we've got the age profile of
a premiership side.
Yeah. So but we haven't got the 4 or 5 good young kids that Brisbane have, or Geelong have, or the Swans have, or these other teams have. So we need to really start getting some kids in there, and that's going to ensure the long term success of the.
What about small forwards, Reese? I mean, the
well, that was one I was
the
gonna go to.
controversial call made about a couple of weeks ago was that even though he kicked something like 33 goals for the season, of all of the small forwards, he's probably the only one who's got, statistically anyway, the right to say, "Well, I've done my job for the year." Matthew Owies has been told to look for somewhere else to go, and yet the other small forwards, whether it be Motlop or Durden or Fantasia, they all get to stay. And a lot of people are shaking their heads at this decision. Do you agree with letting Matthew Owies go? And if you do, who's going to take his place?
If need be, you do. We do. We need a forward with a bit of pace in there. A small forward with pace in there, and we got. You look at Owies, Motlop, and Durden, and they're much of a match. You know, I mean, they don't offer anything different. You know, really. I mean, none of them got real blistering pace. There's no Charlie Cameron or freakish ability about any of them. You know, no Bobby Hills or anything like that who can jump on blokes' heads. We haven't got those. You know, we haven't got that type of player. So we've got the same. And what happens and what did happen was one would go out, one would come in every bloody week. You're replacing the same with the same. And it was just nothing was getting any better.
I've heard the opinion expressed by some people that Matthew Owies is not actually a small forward. He doesn't play like a small forward. He plays more like a lead up forward. Who happens to be short, because most of his goals are actually kicked on a set shot after he's marked the ball coming out from the forward pocket. So he's more of a lead up forward than he is a crumbing small forward.
Well, I got told that Motlop was a lead-up forward. In his junior football, Motlop was a lead-up, come out, take a mark, go back, kick goals type forward. And and that's the and when you look at the way he plays, you go, well, yes, he sort of, but he doesn't fit in anywhere. I mean, especially when we've got tall forwards who we need people to be hitting the front of the pack at pace.
If that's the case, does that mean our list managers and recruiters haven't done their homework and their due diligence? If that's the way Motlop played in his junior football, why then would you recruit him to Carlton expecting him to be a crumbing small forward if that's not the way he plays?
Well, but you pick the best available at the time, and what you're looking for is
square pegs in round holes. You know, it just doesn't go, does it? I mean, if you're looking for a crumbing small forward like you used to play with, like your Kenny Sheldons and your Jimmy Buckleys, I mean, they used to hit the pack at pace and crumb off the tall boys and kick lots of goals every week.
Yeah,
these guys don't seem to know how to do that. They just haven't perfected the art.
You know, I mean, and the one deal that I reckon would have been the icing on the cake was a few years back when Papley wanted to come to Carlton.
Yeah.
And Stephen Silvani either couldn't or wouldn't do the deal. And I would have loved to have had Papley.
I think relied on, actually, I remember that deal. It relied on Joe Danaher going to Sydney, and it never ended up happening.
That's
and
correct.
Because Joe Danaher didn't get to Sydney, they didn't let Papley go. So they convinced him to stay there. So anyway, that's done and dusted now.
I think we could have done a lot more, though. You know, he wanted to come, hell high water, and even when you're reading the paper, he was willing to go back and play at. I'm trying to think of the club, Bunyip. He was going to go and play in Bunyip seconds rather than. If he was that hell bent on doing that, then we should.
They clearly twisted his arm to stay there. But anyway. Look,
the deal. I don't think we did enough. To get him. That was he was our player basically, and we didn't do enough. So,
well, fell over.
And that comes down to a failure by our recruiters as well. So.
Can I put my two bobs worth? And then let's talk about the last, because I'm just looking at the time. Let's look at the 12 players that we're going to go through in the next section. I think there's a bunch of things. I mean, just listening to what you guys are saying, there's a review of the whole everything from football director, Greg Williams, Lloyd, CEO, everyone needs to be, and I think Voss needs some real senior help. For me, what would make me happy is like what the Melbourne models. They've got Choco Williams,
Yep.
you've got Alan Richardson, getting an ex-senior coach in there to give a bit of. I think that's important. And I think if we're just going on what they're doing at the moment, and people talk about Fantasia and stuff, he's contracted, but I really think that he's already made the good moves by those exit meetings. So what Rhys was saying before, that if you're telling them to go look for elsewhere, they're not the nice club anymore, which is good. That means they're becoming a bit more ruthless. And that's something we need. Now, the next part of being ruthless would be, instead of playing Chera, you go Chinkota. Doesn't matter about your name. So that sort of stuff, I think, comes with a bit of experience. That's my 2 bobs worth. All right, let's talk about the players.
You look at your list and see at the end of it, you got blokes who are out of contract, and you go, well, hang on a minute, we've got 3 small forwards. We've got Durden, Motlop, and Owies. Owies might have kicked the most goals this year, but did he really was he that damaging? Was he
No.
Was he a Papley or a Bobby Hill, or was he that dangerous? Or no, he wasn't. So it's put it out there. I mean, geez, we're in a ruthless game at the moment, and you're going to be ruthless to your players as much and say, well, look, you're out of contract this year. The other blokes, it's timing too. The other blokes are still contracted, and bad luck for you because you happen to be not contracted. But there's every chance he could still be there anyway. So no one else out there might want him, and then that's saying something too, isn't it? If no one wants Kennedy or no one wants Owies, so then you're saying, well, hang on a minute, we're stuck with him.
I think Lou Richards once said, "Good ordinary player." Was that him? So he's probably
Jack
a good
Dyer,
ordinary.
wasn't it? Jack Dyer.
Jack Dyer said that about Peter Bazasto. Good ordinary player.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a comment here from Joseph. He's Joe. He's in hospital. Big hello.
Hey, Joe.
Hello from my hospital bed. Oh, say hello back to your hospital bed, Joe.
Has he still got frostbite? He's still got frostbite from your trip to Melbourne, Joe.
Yeah, I think it might be something to do with that.
Vince.
Okay, let's just quickly go through
the next segment because I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah, that's fine. No problems. We'll just quickly get your thoughts. 30 seconds on each of these if you like, Rhys, or a minute or so. These are the players that I've identified will probably finish in the top 10 in our best and fairest this year. So I'm going to go with 10 down to 1. Okay.
These are the easy ones, eh?
These should be the easy ones, yeah. Okay. The first one I'm going to put down is Charlie Curnow. I actually don't think he'll get much better than 10th. So what did you make of his year? What did you think of his season 2024? What was he good at? What wasn't he good at? And what does he need to do to improve and to be the player that we need him to be in 2025?
Charlie now needs to realise that he's not the superstar that everyone makes out he is, because he is not. He hasn't done enough yet to warrant that. He is not taken games apart. I mean, even this year, I think 5 or 6 he might have kicked. It would have been his best, wouldn't it, this year? Last year he kicked 19 goals against West Coast when they were absolutely horrible. And so, I mean, Charlie's been put on a bit of a pedestal, and he needs to earn that place now. He needs to know that he's not as good as what, and the way he plays too. He's got to be smarter. I mean, everyone tells me he's such a great athlete. We don't see it. We don't see his athleticism.
Doesn't work hard enough.
Jeremy Cameron doesn't look like an athlete, but geez, he works like one. Works hard and works up the ground, and and he doesn't look anything like. We're going to get Kuda-like performances out of Curnow, and he's got to rise. He's got to take that next step. He hasn't taken it. Yep. He's sitting in that good ordinary football, not good ordinary football. He's probably a bit better than that, but he's in that position where
Where he hasn't really tapped into the talent that he's got, natural talent.
And that's that's got to come out of our coaches too. Our coaches have got to.
I was just going to say the coaches have got to get this.
Make him play a different role, because the role he's playing at the moment, he's getting back. He's starting to wrestle and hang on and embody people. And I want to see him running out, jumping and taking the ball and getting up the ground and using athleticism. So
you ought to watch some tapes of Jeremy Cameron, because that is exactly how he could play if he made the decision to play that way. But again, you're right. In consultation with the coaching staff, I think they've got a lot to answer for as well in terms of how they've asked him to play.
Well, it's not so much that; it's just the style of football. Yeah, which comes back to the coaches, where it hasn't worked and it didn't change, and we kept doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result, which the old saying sort of thing. So he
needs a big year, doesn't he? I mean, the other thing is he was missing for us. He didn't play in that elimination final, so the monkey is still well and truly on the back in terms of how he plays in finals based on last year. And he was cooked after that Hawthorn game where his ankle went on him, and let's just be frank, he wasn't able to play after that. He was just shot to pieces.
Yeah, and it didn't look like he wanted to play after that either. But that's another side of it. But why not throw him in the middle every now and then? Like Cooter used to do. Throw him in through the middle and let him run and let him get the footy and let him enjoy his footy. I think that's a real thing. One thing I would have loved, to hear back from the players is, instead of being, especially the players who didn't have great years, I'd say to them all, you call them in and you talk to them and you say, well, how are we going to improve you? How do you, because all these players, they've all got there because, Young got through the hard path of getting to being an AFL footballer. They've all got that talent to get there. What are they being held back from doing that's going to make them a better player? Is it where they're, being played, or is it where they're, how they're being?
Isn't that the coach's job to get the very best performance out of the talent pool that he's got? Is Michael Voss achieving that?
Well, sometimes you've got to talk to the players and say, how, if in an ideal world, how can you improve? How can you be a better footballer? And you can talk about fitness levels and different things about that. Maybe, you can hint at those type of things. But get the player to be honest with himself. Get the player to tell, well, he might say, well, hang on a minute. I'm running up and down the bloody wing. It might be Ollie Hollands. I'm running up and down the bloody wing all the bloody time and going coast to coast, back and forth.
Running patterns.
The ball, and I'd rather be running over to here and getting where the ball is, and I'd rather be doing this and doing that, and listen to each other and explain things, and you'll find that the players, they know their talents, they know their limitations and what they can and can't do, and they're probably you can't give them too much, but I was talking to Sticks and Diesel during the week, and I said to Sticks, I said, it might be, almost a stage where, like in 95, you throw it back to the players and give them a bit of responsibility, change it around.
Give them ownership of the solution.
Yes. Yeah, give them a little bit of ownership. You don't give them the whole lot, of course, but give them, they've all been playing long enough now. They all know each other's games. They know it, and take responsibility for what's happening. Because at the moment, it doesn't look like any of them are taking responsibility.
All right. We'll need to race through the rest of these. Otherwise, Rash is going to probably have kittens because he needs to be gone shortly. I'll quickly go through the others. Just quickly sum up the year and for them and what they might need to do better next year. George Hewitt, he played all the games except for the one he was dropped to the VFL and got 34 possessions in the VFL. That was a puzzling decision, wasn't it? I think he'll finish in the top 10 in our best and fairest, as it turns out. What did you think of his year?
Yeah, I was baffled a couple of times when he was made the sub and different things, and then dropped the following week. So I don't know where he sits in the course of things, but I think he had a very good year, and he can play that negating role on players too. So let's hope that he's going to an Isaac Heaney and Dacos or whatever next year.
Elijah Hollins, I think he'll probably he's probably our best first year player. I don't think there were any other first-year players that got more than a handful of games. But Elijah Hollins did, and he played the majority of them and played pretty impressively, I thought. I reckon he'll finish in the top 10 in the best and fairest. What do you think of his performance coming across from Gold Coast?
Yeah, no, real talent. This has been his first full year of football, so he started to get a little bit tired towards the end, but he's a quality footballer, and he's only going to get better. I'm really excited about seeing those Hollins boys around, both of them, for a long time.
The knock on him, by the way, as I heard mentioned in the media on one of the media shows, I'm trying to think of which one it might have been. Was it Footy Classified or one of those? They pointed out that, or it might have been on one of the Foxtel shows, that he's carrying a bit of weight. He's got a bit of puppy fat around him, and they reckon he needs to have a really good pre-season to improve his fitness and therefore his mobility and become a quicker player through the midfield. So that might be the one area he needs to improve on most is his overall fitness.
Well, that goes back to the fitness people, and he should be fit enough. And I don't listen to any of that crap from most people. They wouldn't have a clue. So,
they did show some footage of him that he looked a little bit.
That's
rubbish. A little bit pudgy. Anyway,
that's what I love about David Rhys-Jones. He just says it. Love it.
Blake Acres. What did you think of his year? Was it as good as last year, or better, or worse, or about the same? What did you think of him?
Probably not as good, but I'll tell you what, Blake Acres gives you 100% all the time. He does a hell of a lot of running, and he'd be one of those blokes who might be asking, do I have to? But he runs to both ends. He saves goals. He kicks goals down the other end. So very. No problem with him.
Okay. Harry Mackay. I think we could probably safely say he's had a better year this year than last year. He had the yips last year a lot with his kicking for goal, and from the very first game against Brisbane up there at the Gabba, he seemed to put a lot of those demons behind him. And overall, even though he had some quiet games, I think you'll find that he'll end up being pretty close to top 5 in the best and fairest, Harry Mackay.
Yeah, and he did a lot of rucking during the course of the year. And look, his kicking did improve, which means he was a more valuable player this year than what he was previously. But I want to see Harry Mackay crashing packs. I want to see Harry Mackay running hard. He's a big, strong man, and I want to see him hurting people next year. I want to see people worried about where Harry is, and he needs to take that in. I get a little bit worried about the way he plays sometimes. I think being such a big bloke, I watch his brother, and he's a little bit the same at times.
Yeah.
And, I'm not calling him soft or anything, but I think he needs. We need hard people out there. We need ruthless.
They both tend to pick and choose when they're going to really go hard at the contest, don't they? They sometimes sort of wimp out of the odd one. I noticed against Brisbane in that first final, in that elimination final, that when we really needed him to stand up in the way that you've just described, hitting packs hard and all that, he just didn't seem to be interested.
I don't think he's that
he
guy.
He needs to be a real feared forward, and he's such a big man. He can do it. He just needs to see ball and go for it and be given. That's what I'll be saying to him. You just go for everything, and they'll ruck him again next year, and with TDK. So now I thought he did some good work in the ruck and around the ground a bit last year.
Yeah, I agree with that. He was a good backup.
Yeah, but I just want him to be a bit more ruthless next year. I want him to. I want him to stamp his ground. I mean, if you're a big man, be a big man. Get out there and be tough and hard and go for it.
Another one of our. Another one of our A graders. I think most people would definitely include him as one of our A graders. I think he had a bit of a mixed year. Started off with a bang, but again, injuries seemed to curtail his season. Sam Walsh, probably good enough to just make top 5 in the best and fairest, but seemed to lack the impact this year that he had previous years. And, he won, what was it, the Gary Ayres medal for best player in the final series last year. Didn't seem to have anywhere near the same sort of impact this season.
No, look, when he come back, I mean, there was rumours early in the season that he wasn't going to play at all this year, with his back problem and that. So that was worrying in itself. But when he did come into the team, God, he was he was going hard. But it was getting a bit late in the season. I spoke to a few people down at the club. Apparently, he did have a hip issue that was sort of limiting his speed. Actually, it was just curtailing him to be able to break away, and he was getting caught a lot, and he was one pace. So hopefully he can get that fixed up. But he never stops trying. So
no, you can't question his work ethic, can you? I mean, the guy just works his backside off, but he just seemed to lack that bit of zip.
Yeah, and apparently is an injury, a niggling injury is carrying that was restricting him a little bit. So
the other knock on him, of course, was his delivery. His delivery into the forward line was a bit questionable at times, but maybe that was also impacted by these injuries. But look, you'd hope that with a good pre-season, and if he's 100% fit going into next year, that he can have a better year. Nick Newman, I think he's had such a consistent year that he could definitely look to finish close to the top 3, but at least top 5 anyway, I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely. I love the way Nick Newman goes about it. He gets a lot of the ball. He antagonises the opposition. He has a crack. So, full kudos to him. I like the way he goes about it.
Yep. Another player who I think is going to be challenging for top 3 this year in our best and fairest. He might or might not get there, but he had more impact, in my opinion, than any other player in the season. On our team and on our year, and that's Tom De Koning. We really noticed it in a big way when he went out injured after that North Melbourne game, and the minute he went out of the side, we just seemed to lose a lot as a result.
He's like a barometer in some ways. He put it this way. We were going bloody shithouse until he come on in that final, and and he got out there, and he just does what he does. He tries, he goes, he'll go at the ball in the air, he'll go at it on the ground. Yeah. He's not a big bloke like Harry. Like he's slim in a lot of ways, but he's going to bulk up a little bit more, and he's so exciting. He's going to be an exciting player.
Would you be going after his brother?
Yep.
Because he's another potential centre-half back.
I'd prefer him than Haynes back there, So
prefer him than Houston.
You'd like to think that Nick Austin,
but he'd be that tall backman we need. So, and he's young too. He's got plenty ahead of him too. So plenty of years ahead of him, and he's in that right age group. So I'd go at him 100 miles an hour if they could get him. It'd be absolutely super, and I think they'd be a great duo.
Apparently, I've pronounced TDK's name incorrectly, Lana Owens. Sorry. I always say Tom De Koning. Tom De Koning. Sorry, I didn't put that feminine touch to his name. I thought the Germans were more, De Koning. Anyway.
I think it's Dutch.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I think so.
Anyway, whatever. Anyway, we go to the top 2. My top 2 are the top 2 that made the All-Australian team. And, Jacob Wiedering at number 2, in my opinion. He'll probably finish there. It's the only chance he's got of winning anything at best and fairest, because every other award in the AFL is all skewed towards midfielders. But that's another story. What did you think of Jacob Wiedering's year? And, how do we possibly win a premiership without someone like him at fullback?
Yeah, look, he's just sensational. He's just a consummate backman. I'm really rapt for him that he made All Australian. I got on that 360 or whatever it was, and I was on with him one time and actually
I remember
mentioned that. And he walked out because I didn't realise he'd had so many nominations as
5 in a row.
Yeah, but I didn't realise he'd never been an All-Australian before. And, so, it was his turn and he duly deserved it. He was, he is just a rock back there. And with, whether he's defending or setting things up, he was a general back there. And without him, we wouldn't have won as many games as we did. But he needs help and we need to get him help. So whoever it is, whether it be Haynes, whether it be Sam DeConning, which would be a better bet. But we need to go and get him. Carlton's got to start.
I'm sure.
From the,
you're right. He had been nominated in the All Australian squad of 44 5 years in a row, I think it is. But this is the first time he made the team of 22. So well done to Jacob Wiedering. But I'm sure he'd gladly swap his All Australian for Harris Andrews' premiership medal, that's for sure. So Harris Andrews has had the last laugh in that respect. And our number one, I don't think there's any shadow of doubt, Patrick Cripps will win his fifth best and fairest, only ever betted by one other player, the great John Nichols. So there's always the debate that goes on about, who's Carlton's best player. Where does Patrick Cripps rank now if his career was cut short tomorrow? He hasn't won a premiership yet. He is our captain, but he's not a premiership captain yet. So where does he rank right now in the list of all-time Carlton players? And if he was to captain Carlton to a premiership next year, what does that do to his standing? Can I ask you that question without notice?
Yeah. Well, if he gets us, into a premiership, it just that's the ultimate. That's what they all play for, and he
would he be up in the top three along with John Nichols and Stephen Kernahan if he won a premiership as a captain and five-time best and fairest and twice Brownlow medals?
Definitely, he's carried this team for years, so you know what I mean. You've got to go back 4 or 5 years and the way he was playing and people were saying, this kid's not going to get to 30. He's going to blow out because he's just doing too much work. But that's the nature of what he is. That's him as a footballer, and he has to play that way. That's the way he plays football, and that's what
well, I remember when he won his very first best and fairest in our wooden spoon winning year of 2015 when Chris Judd retired halfway through the year after doing his ACL.
You don't win wooden spoons, do you?
Well, when I say win,
I was going to say
we were handed a wooden spoon, if you like, or smacked on the backside with one.
Smacked on the backside with one,
But really, when you look at it, for 10 years now, this is the 10th year that you could probably say that Patrick Cripps has been carrying the biggest load of any player in terms of carrying our side through that last decade. From 2015 to 2024, that's 10 years inclusive, and there's no player that's probably carried our hopes more on his shoulders.
Well, and he's improved us as a player. I mean, it's Juddy was the same. Juddy, you look back at Juddy, and Juddy got us in the finals. He basically, not single-handedly, because you don't do it single-handedly, but and that's how Cripper has been, and he's just a beast. He's a ball-winning machine, and and now a vote-winning machine too. So can I ask you? Can I ask you more highly of him? But but the premiership's the one thing that's the one
he
thing
needs on the CV. Yeah. And John Nichols has won, 3 of them. One as a captain coach, 68, 70 and 72. Sticks has captained 2 premierships in 87 and 95. And, Alex Jeslenko again, 4 premierships. So, he needs at least one. He needs at least one to go along with those individual honours of best and fairest and Brownlow medals, because they're all individual honours. The ultimate team honour is a premiership, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Nick broke a 21-year drought, so we'll be going into a 30-year drought next year. So,
can you see us breaking it?
Yes, I
You
can.
can see us winning next year?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
Look,
question,
I think we've got to. It's just we've the people who put those lists together. This is going back a long time now. Who recruited those players? They recruited the specific players, whether it be Cripps, whether it be Wiedering and Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, and to form the basis of our next premiership team. So that it's been a long time in the making, and we've got a great opportunity because the competition is so even at the moment. It's still as much as Brisbane won by 10 goals yesterday. You look right through that season. It's been very, very close, and we've been up there. We've been, at one stage during the year, we were considered the only threat to Sydney.
Yeah,
and
second on the ladder and a couple of games clear. Yeah.
Yep. So
well, it's been a very even season. I think everyone's commented on that, and it's no surprise that Brisbane's won it from outside the top four. If there was ever a year to do that, this year would have been a perfect opportunity. And as it's turned out, they've done a similar job to the Western Bulldogs, winning every single final. They've travelled, 3 weeks in a row now. After their home game against us, they went to Sydney and beat GWS. They came to Melbourne and beat Geelong, and then they beat the top team on the ladder, Sydney, on grand final day. So they well and truly deserve it. I guess it can be done, but most people would still say next year that you still want to be finishing top four. Can we finish top four? Are we good enough to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We really should have finished top four this year, but we're there all year. We're sitting here, but the majority of the year we're sitting up there at second place, and then the wheels fell off, and they've just got to get better. And I think, as the years go on, the players are going to start to realise, hang on, our time up here is
windows closing.
It's not going to stay open forever, but. We've probably got another 2, 3, 4 years maybe that we need at least one premiership in that time, and no reason why it can't be next year.
Well, Patrick Cripps will be turning 30 pretty much as the season gets going next year. So if he's going to be the one to lead us to premiership glory, you'd probably think it's got to be done within the next 2 to 3 years. Hopefully, they find the formula to do it.
Yeah, there's plenty of blokes playing in their 30s, playing at the top of their game at the moment. So, and this has probably been his best season by a long street. So, who's to say he can't improve next year? He can't.
Can I just ask you quickly? The Brownlow Medal was controversial for a number of things, but probably the one thing that was talked about most was Cripps actually getting 45 votes, which absolutely destroyed the previous record of 36. And Nick Dacos ends up breaking that record as well with 38, but doesn't win the medal. Now, there was a lot of speculation about, some of these games that he got votes in and probably shouldn't have got any more than one, and he ends up getting 2 or even 3. Do you think the umpires are a bit blinded by just how good he is in terms of his effort? Do you think that that's why they keep giving him votes, because they see firsthand under their own noses how much he works hard? Because that's right. Well, that's all I can put it down to.
Well, you look at the games we did win, and he was under their nose most of the time. A lot of those games, he was by far the best player on the ground. But even in the games, I was surprised. There were a few times there where we lost games.
Yeah,
and I don't think
he still got 3 votes.
you can go back through our votes we picked during the year, and I don't think I had him in our top 3. So of our votes, let alone So
he was a bit lucky, as he said. Everything that went his way, didn't it?
Put it this way: it should not be changed. It's been an umpires award. The umpires have voted for it since day dot. So continue that, because you can't just keep changing tradition. It's got to stay the same. There is other awards out there. There's a coaches award.
So the umpires requesting stats before they put in their votes. You wouldn't give them the stats.
No, not at all. Well, but that's only going to enhance it though, because the midfielders get all the bloody kicks and handballs, and so what's? I mean, people who are saying that are stupid, because it's going to make more votes for midfielders if you really look at stat. And
Can I
that's
ask
what
you?
we want to look at.
Can I ask you your opinion on one idea?
Mm-hmm.
What if the umpires didn't put in there? Because I mean, let's face it, they're focused on trying to umpire the game and looking for indiscretions and looking for players that are holding on to other players. And who's the best man on the ground and who the best three players are on the ground is probably the least of what they're thinking about.
Exactly.
Would it be better if we said to the umpires, okay, you've umpired a game on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
The four of you get together in a closed room with a TV screen. We'll give you some finger food and drinks so you can watch the game. The four of you watch the game with the full Channel 7 or Foxtel commentary, whatever it might be.
Why?
And then you get together after watching the game within 24 hours of actually umpiring it. So in the cool light of day, you can watch the game like any of the spectators do, like any of the journalists do, and then come up with your votes. Because you'd have to say that some of the voting on certain games is mystifying. Would that help? Would that help them to improve who they see are the best players on the ground if they can actually watch it without worrying about umpiring it?
Yeah, well, the Kaji Greaves won the first one, wasn't it? Was it Kaji Greaves, the Geelong player? Was it?
Kaji Greaves was the first Brownlow medalist, yes.
All right, well, and umpires didn't go and watch Channel 7 replays and have to.
Yeah, I understand that, but the game was a heck of a lot slower back then.
Taylor anyway,
and you only had the one umpire, didn't you? Yeah, the game was
a lot
slower.
It doesn't matter. The whole thing is this award has every year had, there's been blokes who haven't played who've got votes in previous years and different things like that. But,
How about Nick Dacos? How about Nick Dacos getting a vote when he only had 15 possessions and got subbed off, and his brother Josh gets about 34 or something like that, and he got no votes, and yet Nick Dacos got a vote. Clearly, they suffered a case of mistaken identity. Surely.
Look, it's another reason to bag the umpires. So I don't want to take it away from them. So I just want every opportunity we get to criticise umpires, I want. So let's just leave it as it is. And look, the one thing I hope though, I think 45 votes never ever happens again. And the only way it will happen is if.
Do you really think that Cripps, as much as I think you deserve to win regardless, do you really think that he had a season that anyone would have said, oh, he's had such a great season. Not only is he going to break the record, he's going to smash it. He's going to get 45 votes.
Well, I'll be there on next Sunday night, and he will smash the bloody,
the Carlton vote.
Smash it, the Carlton vote. So no one's going to get near him there. So
no, of course not.
And it's well deserved. And look, who cares who gets
No, I know.
Off
I even said on our show.
Put it this way, Vince. But what you're saying and what everyone else is saying, there are these other awards where outsiders and independent people vote for in the Herald Sun or the Age or whatever.
Lee Matthews Award,
Channel 9,
MVP,
Channel 9, Channel 7. They all have their 3-2-1s and they all have their winners. Do you know who was first and second in nearly every single one of those awards? Patrick Cripps and Nick Dacos in every single one of them, even the coaches' awards. So
Marcus Bontempelli was the captain of the All-Australian team, and he didn't even get half the votes that Cripps got. Yeah,
but that's judged by other people as well. That's and you got All-Australian people.
So you don't think the umpires got it wrong with Marcus Bontempelli?
No. Who knows? Who knows what he said out there? Who knows what he did?
True.
Put it this way. I'll give you a good example. I think it was about 1981, 82 or something, and I was up in Sydney, so I'd say 82, and I was playing against Geelong up there for the Swans. I won all the awards and got all the votes off everyone, but and they used to give a gold cup. When you went up there, and whoever's the best player for the Swans got a gold cup, you got presented with it after the game.
Yeah.
And anyway, we're flying up and back then, and I think it was Peter Cameron or one of the umpires.
One of the umpires
met at the airport. We'd always, because we flew back together with the umpires and the opposition team, and Yeah, and he come up and he said, geez, you killed him today. You got the votes and bloody da-da-da. And I thought, oh, fantastic. And I happened to be in Wagga. It wasn't at Brownlow. I never got invited there. I had an asterisk next to me name every bloody week. But I was up in Wagga and they weren't showing the Brownlow up there. And I was doing a function or something up there. And I remember ringing back to Melbourne to check, on the results and that. And I was ringing my wife at the time. And anyway, I thought I've been going a little while. I had any votes yet? No votes. And anyway, rang back next time. No, you still haven't had any votes. And anyway, I got to the end and I rang and I got 3 votes. I got 3 votes against Geelong and no vote. I got no votes for the whole season. And I just thought, you lying pricks, bloody umpires.
Yeah, well.
Had very, very little respect for him after that. Not that I had much.
Yes. Well, I reckon Greg Williams, your old sparring partner, he says that he reckons John Russo, who was one of the umpires in a Carlton versus Melbourne game where he got about 43 possessions and not one Brownlow vote. He reckons that Russo hated him, and that's why one of the reasons why he didn't get the vote. And he was 1 vote short of a Brownlow medal. I think Gavin Wanganeen won it in 1993. And he maintains to this day that he should have been a 3-time Brownlow medal winner. But anyway, that's another story.
Bad luck, because you didn't get the bloody vote. So bad luck.
Well,
and the umpires vote, and they vote.
Yeah.
They're human beings, and if you're going to abuse them and have a crack at them, then you're not going to get votes off them. So,
well, isn't it appropriate that the last thing we talk about with David Rhys-Jones in season 2024 is the issue of umpires and umpiring? Mate, what can I say? This is our last show for the year, and you've been absolutely tremendous, giving up your time every Sunday night, and we've really enjoyed having your perspective on all things Carlton and all things football. I'm sure our viewers will all join me in thanking you very sincerely for being so generous with your time. You've been fantastic. And we'll let you have half a dozen months off now, and we'll see if we can get you for next year. But I won't ask you that on air. We'll certainly thank you at least for season 2024, mate. Thanks so much.
No worries. It's been great, and it's given me an opportunity to vent my frustration at times at a lot of things. So it's been a bit of fun. So
and please thank your beautiful wife Cherie for allowing us to pinch you for an hour and a half or so every Sunday night. It's very good of her to be that understanding. I know you got your hands full with your kids and everything else, but mate, you're an absolute champion of not only the game but Carlton Football Club, but you're a champion bloke too, and we all know it. So thanks, Reece.
More importantly, go the Mighty Blues, and let's make sure they have a great pre-season and hit that first game 100 miles an hour. All right, thanks, guys.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, Reece.
Thanks, Reece.
Okay. No worries. Bye. See you.
Well, there you go, Rash. Just before we finish up, I've got my last Vince's verdict for the year, and let me tell you, mate,
see if I can find that.
I'm going to have to go through these quickly, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of them.
You know, Vince, you told me it's 1 hour. We're already gone to 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but what can I do? Reece was elaborating.
No, it wasn't Reece. It was you. All right, let's roll through this. You've got 5 minutes, and that's it. Otherwise, you'll cut the show by yourself.
All right, you're putting me on notice. All right.
Here you go.
Well, where can I start? I'll try and do this in chronological order. First of all, it's mainly to do with the grand final. Okay, I won't go into the Brownlow medal. We've talked about that with Reece. The team Guernseys. Did you find it weird that we had all maroon Guernseys for Brisbane and all red Guernseys for Sydney, and there was very little distinction in colours between the two? At times, it was hard to know who was playing with who.
I didn't know, to be honest.
I would have thought that if anyone at the AFL had half a brain cell between them, that they should have done what worked so successfully over at the Gabba earlier this year when Sydney played Brisbane at the Gabba, and I think Brisbane got over them by 2 points. Sydney wore the predominantly white Guernsey, white on the back with red numbers, white at the front with the red heritage. It's like a heritage Guernsey, the old red V. that they used to wear when they were South Melbourne, and they could have worn red shorts with a Guernsey like that. Even white shorts would have looked even better, to be honest. But even if they wanted to wear the red shorts, at least give them the white Guernsey. Those two Guernseys were way too close in colour to each other. There was no clash Guernsey at all, and I just don't think it worked. Mind you, the fact that they made Brisbane wear the white shorts last year against Collingwood, that was another disgraceful decision. But anyway, I just don't know who makes these decisions at the AFL, but I don't know. It just, to me, was a stupid decision to get Sydney to wear their predominantly red Guernsey. Would have looked a lot better if it was white. Anyway, pre-game entertainment. Now, this will be something right up your alley, Rash, because you're in the music business and managed all sorts of artists. Do you think it was worth... Now, I believe it's $5 million. Was that correct? $5 million to get Katy Perry?
I don't
know what it was, what the official number was, but I've seen figures around $5 million being floated around.
No, I doubt. I
thought it was around $2 million originally. It might have been $5 million Australian, which is probably closer to $3.5 million in US or something.
No, I don't think she's that much. No.
Anyway, whatever it was, even if it was only $2 million, do you think that was value for money for half a dozen songs? Do you think she captured the imagination of the crowd in the same way that
I'm going to tell you
Robbie
from the
Williams
music
did?
side of things, because I always bag every year what they do. I think the best one that we've had is Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
Today.
Okay, let's talk about Katy Perry though.
Katy Perry for me was a great choice. I think it's a great choice.
Really?
Now, whether a price, yeah, I think so, because I think she's.
I'm seeing figures of $5 million being said here. $5 million for 5 songs. $1 million per song.
Who knows? I don't think her.
I don't think she's got a cost of living crisis. But
no, I don't.
It just goes to show you how pathetic, yet again, the AFL are. They're quite happy to find millions of dollars for an overseas pop star to come here and sing a handful of songs. I mean, what that contraption was that she came out in, I don't know, but it looked to me like she was going to keel over at one stage and tip over the edge. She looked like she was finding it hard to keep her balance. And yet they can't even, if you go to the AFL app right now or the AFL website and you try and listen to the press conference of John Longmire, you can't hear anything that's being asked of him. I know there was a lot of noise in the background, but yet again, they can't even find $50 for a decent microphone at press conferences. It makes you sick. But Katy Perry, $5 million, no worries.
No, you can't say it's $5 million because we don't know.
Well, that's what I'm being. That's what I'm looking. I'm looking at all the comments that are coming up on our
maybe
chat.
The people don't know. I'm sure the people probably don't know either because it's how are you going to know it's $5 million? I don't think her price is not $5 million. I'm telling you.
Oh, I reckon it might.
If you said to me maybe Coldplay, I'd say to you, yeah, Coldplay would be good, but yeah, I think she's a good choice. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, it's all a matter of opinion. There's no right and wrong, but when it comes to pre-game entertainment, surely the AFL could redirect those millions of dollars in the right areas that they're actually going to make a difference in our game, whether it be junior football, whether it be even things like I've just said, like spending a few dollars on getting proper, microphones at press conferences so we can actually hear the questions being asked. But they're quite happy to rub shoulders with the elites of the world and feel important because they've got Katy Perry here. The other thing that made me sick was that Brisbane got here a day earlier than usual. They got here on the Wednesday. They wanted to train on the MCG on the Thursday and were told, no, sorry, we've got Katy Perry doing rehearsals. You can't train there. Where are the priorities? The actual show that we're putting on, the game, and letting teams train on the MCG? Or these bloody overseas artists that come over here and take millions of our dollars for singing 5 songs on and then flying out again.
The good thing about Katy Perry is they had Tina Arena, which I thought that was a good move.
Yeah, I would have rather have Tina Arena on her own, and she would have outsung Katy Perry easily. But anyway, the other thing I was just going to point out, the national anthem. I'm buggered if I know what we've got to do to get some national pride into our sports people and even the coaches, I don't see anyone singing it. Where's the national pride gone? Why isn't everyone expected to sing the national anthem when it's being played on the biggest day of the year in the sporting calendar? To look at the cameras screening across both teams and hardly anyone moving their lips, to me, is just a shame. It's a real tragedy of this country. I can guarantee you that if it was a game in America, every player would be singing that national anthem, other than the woke idiots that get down on the knee and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I don't know what we've got to do, but that to me is really sad that no one sings the national anthem, whether it be players, coaches, or anyone else out there on the field.
Is welcome to country in your
welcome to country yet again? Honestly, it makes me sick. How the hell did Uncle Colin, who gets paid many tens of thousands of dollars for doing these things, by the way, how did he manage to get an invitation to the Brownlow Medal? Why was he there? The welcome to country at the Brownlow Medal was a video that they put up. We actually watched it on Channel 7. It was a pre-made video. It wasn't a live welcome to country. So what was he doing there?
Who knows?
What was Ariana Titmus, the Olympic swimmer, doing there? Just goes to prove that invitations are given to all these so-called important people. Why? The AFL again. The hypocrisy is staggering. After the game, the players went out and get their medals and give their little kids a hat and shake their hand. And I've got to commend the Brisbane team. All of them did it, except for one. Charlie Cameron. Charlie, yeah. You're never going to live that one down, mate. Now, you might say, I got caught up in the excitement of it all and I forgot and I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I'm sure that they're going to get that little kid and probably do a special presentation over there one day at the Gabba or something. But that wasn't good enough, Charlie. You should have known. I think there's a guy there that hands them the cap who says, don't forget to shake their hand. I saw him giving instructions to every player that got the cap. They all followed the instruction except for Charlie Cameron. But no one will criticise him because he's an Indigenous player. Full stop. John Longmire, as I said, was doing his press conference. How the hell the AFL organises for these coaches to do a mandatory press conference, and while he's doing his press conference, what's going on in the background, Rash? All of the chanting and cheering and celebrating in the Brisbane Lions rooms, and you could barely hear anything going on in the press conference. Surely they can find a better position or a better room to be doing these press conferences in than have to do that sort of thing while there's cheering and chanting and all sorts of things. They kept opening the door. He couldn't hear the journalists asking their questions. It was terrible. Yet again, no microphones, so you can't even hear. I mean, it's hard to hear the questions when it's quiet. Yeah, but can you imagine when there's all this commotion going on in the background? You had no chance of hearing what the questions were from the journalists. I challenge everyone to get on the AFL app, go into the press conferences, and you cannot hear what those journalists are asking. Ah, dear. That's it. I'll finish on that. And the last thing I want to say before I finish up is a very, very happy birthday, a very happy 60th birthday. I can't believe he's turned 60 because his football career got cut short tragically at the age of about 23 in 1987 when he had that car crash here in Melbourne. Okay. South Australia's great Peter Motley, who turned 60 earlier last week. I think it might have even been on the night of the Brownlow. It might have been the day after the Brownlow. I think it was on the 24th. So 60 years of age, Peter Motley. All the very best, Motts, if you're watching. And it's emotional just to think about what that young man could have been for the Carlton Football Club, because he had his whole career ahead of him and he was just ready to blossom. He was only 23 at the time, and a lot of people believe that he would have been every bit as good, if not better, than Stephen Kernahan and Craig Bradley. So that's a massive rap unfortunately, we'll never know. But he's just turned 60, so all the very best to Motley. A young guy whose career got tragically cut short due to a car accident in 1987. But other than that, all the best. I guess all we can say is congratulations to the Brisbane Lions. They were the best team for 2024. They proved it. They did it the hard way. They played every single week in the finals. They travelled for 3 weeks in succession, and they were emphatic yesterday. Clearly the best team on the ground, and well done to Chris Fagan. I'm actually happy for them, mainly because of him. I think it's a great story. At 63 years of age, he will now go down as the oldest coach ever to coach a premiership. And his team, they did him proud as well. They played magnificently yesterday.
All right. I reckon I agree. I just seen a hungry team, and that was a great performance. You didn't give a verdict on P. Diddy. Do you know what's happening on P. Diddy, by the way? Are you seeing the news on P. Diddy?
No, I don't want to get into P. Diddy. He's a disgrace. And there's lots of videos. And there's lots of videos coming out with him in all sorts of compromising situations at parties and all sorts of things. And it's sickening to me. It's a very political thing. I don't want to get into it here on this show, but that just goes to show you the evil that's at work. The evil that is at work at the elite level of society, the so-called elites. I mean, why they call them elites, I don't know, because they're anything but elite when it comes to morals and values and things like that. But, people that are involved in Hollywood, people who are involved in the highest levels of government, the World Economic Forum, which is basically a billionaire boys club that's trying to control the world. It all makes me sick. But anyway, that's a more political story that we won't get into here. We're a sports show, Rash. We're talking football.
I know, but you know what? The comments have been going nuts, so we're just putting him in. Everyone's talking about baby or stuff like that. Hey,
mate, thanks again. I got to say thank you so much to you for coming to our rescue again. You've done a magnificent job. Thanks for tolerating me, and sorry for going over time.
Lana calls me super sub. Yeah, you make me go overtime all the time. Next time, I'm not doing it. I'm going to tell you straight. 1 hour, 1 hour.
All right. Cut us off.
All right, guys. You've been watching. Well, you can give the outro. You want to talk because it's your show. I'm on Thursday, so
yes. Well, let's not forget. Hey, let's not forget. We've got the final Jumper Punch show of the year coming up on Tuesday night with Rocco, Mars, and Paul. On Tuesday night, it starts at 7:00, and of course, we also have the Change Room. You're going to do another show next week. Are you going to continue on your weekly shows, or are you stopping now?
Sam is keen to do it. I don't know. Maybe we could get some comments to see what they think. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking whether or not I should just wrap up in the season and be done and come back fresh. And Sam's like, no, dude, let's keep on going. So undecided yet. But this week we're going to have Rocco on, and we're going to hypnotize him live on the show. So that's going to be our Thursday. So look out for us. Thursday,
okay, mate.
Oh, yeah. So it's been a good show. We hope that Joe gets better.
Yes, Joe. Big shout out to Joe. We missed you for the last show of the year. It's a big shame, but look, you can't pick and choose when you get crook, unfortunately. So we wish you a speedy recovery, Joe, and we hope to see you in the new year. And Rash, again, as I said, thank you so much for filling in for us. I don't know what I'd do without you in these situations, because otherwise the show probably wouldn't go to air. Again, David Rhys-Jones been absolutely magnificent this year. Thanks to all of his efforts. And, we hope to see all of you, our loyal viewers, in the new year. We'll probably see the show come back, I would think, at the start of March when the season is about to start, probably the week before it's about to start. I don't think we'll be doing anything in January or February. But
you're going to be
keep
doing
an eye on
stuff?
what's that? No.
Right.
No, we'll probably take a good 4 or 5 months off now and rejoin you when the season is about to start, probably at the start of March, somewhere around there. But If you've subscribed to the channel and get your notifications, we'll certainly let you know when the shows are starting up again. Enjoy the Jumper Punch on Tuesday. Enjoy the Change Room on Thursday night. And let's hope that our Mighty Blues can find the winning formula to play off in a grand final in season 2025. In the meantime, Rash, 3, 2, 1.
Go the Blues.
Blues.